All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the SHIPIT Nation golf show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Got my guy Hoopster here with me as always. Going to break down all things FedEx St. Jude Championship, first leg of the playoffs, 70-man, no-cut event. We'll get to all that more. You know, we're going to be talking about the process, the ownership, breaking down the lineup construction, some interesting stuff I'm seeing early here on a Tuesday. So thank you for joining us. Do us a favor on the way in. It's completely free and easy to do. Just hit the like button. And if you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the channel. All of our shows are free and a lot more coming up with NFL just around the corner. Hoopster, going to bring you in, man. What's going on? You've been on a heater. Hoop on a heater right before we start the season. A lot of other members finding success as well, but I'll bring you in. What's going on, man?
Yeah, it was a very solid weekend. I had the big win in MMA, $50,000, and then followed it up with a pretty solid win in the PGA streets as well. Could have been a little bit better, I think, if our guy Grazerman didn't, piss down the side of his leg. But, I did have another team with Rye that ended up probably benefiting from it. So I might have canceled out a little bit, but it was a really good weekend. And not only for myself, but for our members too. And that's the one thing we always pride ourselves on, man. Like when we have the big weeks, I mean, it's not every time. I mean, it's not every single time we have the big weeks, everyone comes along with us, but more times than not, when we have the big weeks, members are coming along with it. And I see these people around the industry, they continue to post their, oh my gosh, I had 30 bets and I had Rye as an outright bet. The momentum is growing. No. That's not momentum. We have no receipts to back up any sort of win. This is the momentum right here, the shit you're showing on Twitter. Like, this is real momentum where you got big wins, you got member big wins, and just starting to build up going right into NFL season. We talked about it at length on many of our shows. NFL season last year is our first NFL full season. We had a ton of success. Multiple people winning Millie Makers, multiple people winning six-figure wins, multiple people winning life-changing money, whether it's five figures or four figures. I mean, everyone's in a different situation. We had so much of that last season, and we're just going to build on that this NFL season. And again, you can see the momentum growing within the community. We had big MLB wins last week from our guy Rio. It's just I'm
going to show them all off here in a second because that's I think is the cool part. Like, yeah, you guys know what it is. If you the timestamps aren't going to be there, but if you want to hit the skip ahead button, if you're watching this on replay, we are going to have a nation celebration. We're going to bring that every week of the NFL season. We had multiple Millie Maker winners last year in NFL. We had multiple 400, 500K weeks for the community. And people always ask, is it just you guys? No, ton of members. This is JP Barr.
Just to finish off my one point, though, because it does kind of piss me off, because we've been all about the community aspect, and we pride ourselves on the members and community getting better at DFS, becoming better players. And it makes all of us better. It makes me better. It makes you better being a part of this community. And then you got people trying to steal our word about momentum. Like, they don't have any momentum. There's nothing to back up that shit that they're talking about. This is how you back it up right here.
Yeah, this is huge. JP Barr, who's been killing it, crushing MMA as well, I know, but he had a $1,200 to $57,000 week in golf. This is my favorite part too. Look at all the sports across the board. Our guy Gary crushes everything. He did it in both MMA. He actually chopped with Hoop. Him and Hoop were the only guy up top. I know everybody had this chopped lineup, but a lot of it came from our site, our members, people having that. So that was a huge week. He had it in both spots. He then doubled down and got 2 King of the Desert seats in golf. So congrats to Gary. A. Breza in MLB cleaned up. SHIPIT 40K for second place there. That's nice to see. Our guy Scarface not far behind. More on him, by the way, coming for NFL season. So Scarface, our guy Jerry, is going to be in the mix. That's something huge that we've got going on right now. Doink, who just won like 10K a couple weeks ago in PGA, now got another $7,000. Our guy Chad, always a great dude, brought his family out to meet us at one of the events. Seen him a couple times now. He had a great week in NASCAR. We carry NASCAR as well. It comes included, not extra like the other sites. Stosh 82 jumped up here. I think it was $2,000 for Stosh. That's another one. Ronnie, and I'll talk more on Shiptimizer in a second. We obviously launched our optimizer last week. Said the Shiptimizer video this morning was fire. For those that haven't seen, real quick, just under the tutorials, if you're a member, you get this included. This is just a free tutorial, 25 minutes long, on how to use PGA Shiptimizer. We also put one out for MLB as well, so you guys can go check that. Keep going here quick. So shout out to Ronnie. Another MMA, our guy Trisket. Doesn't matter how much you're playing for, $1,434. Huge returns. Same thing for Dirty Deeds. This one in MLB, $1,293. Hoop can now afford a new phone to get better screenshots. Look at that one right there.
Yeah, where the hell did you get that from?
I don't know, Hoop. That's you. You screenshot it and posted it. So get a new phone. And then we got our guy Hebrew, who's just been dominating everything. I'm going to be at the live final with him, many others next week in Chicago for the Fantasy Baseball World Championship. And he had another close call. It was 3 lineups up here, almost taking it down. Shout out Need Lunch Money, Eric, good dude. But there's a lot of good stuff going on right now. If you want to get in, we'll keep it short and sweet. You know what it is. Football is coming up. If you buy the early bird special, you get Shiptimizer for football, classic and showdown slate. So you'll have an optimizer included in this price. You'll have all the content you know and expect included in this price. You'll have all the new stuff that we're going to get from the merger with the Degenerate 75 last year, the Stone for both the main slate and showdown. People have been using that, having a ton of success in PGA and other sports. And then we're also including, much like we include NASCAR with our main package, we're including college football. It's not just an NFL package, it's a football package as well. All right. I see you talking about the sound. You're supposed to call me out right when it happens.
Well, I didn't know if it's just me. Yeah, it's a little. It's not terrible. I mean, I could still hear you, but it was a little shaky there for a few.
Are we back now?
We're back, fully back now. Yeah,
I think it's only when I go on rants. I think it's only when I go on rants, but that's okay. I think we're good. Other than that, I got nothing else to add. I mean, you guys can go check it out. You go and join the nation. It's all here if you want the single sport. It's the $349 package that is taken down to $299 right now to include it, and we're well under our marketing budget here, Hoop. We got 7 minutes in. So anything you want to add quick? If not, let's hop in and start discussing the golf.
Yeah, I mean, again, the one thing that we keep talking about is, if you think you're going to be with us for NFL season, like, there's no need to wait. Like, you get a better value just getting it now, because you get all the all access for free leading up. Now it's 3 weeks of all access, which includes UFC 305, MLB slates, PGA Showdown, PGA main slate, NASCAR. So everything that's going on right now is free leading up to NFL. So if you're someone that only plays NFL, it's still fine to get in now, and you can start taking a look, getting familiar with their content. A lot of our, it's one thing we definitely pride ourselves on. A lot of our content is very consistent, sport to sport. You'll see a lot of the same sorts of content pieces: the value report, the core report, the player pool, the slate plan. It's very consistent, sport to sport. So you can get kind of familiar with our offerings, and again, the community aspect too is really big and a big part of what we do.
Free Money Sunday coming soon. That's right. Our guy Title, shout out to him. And then Monday, our guy says, I played 100% Kuchar on the Monday slate, coming back for one shot. I don't know if we want to talk about that, but we can get into the golf here, Hoop. What's your first thoughts? I mean, you're looking at the field. You see how they did the pricing, 12-4 up top, down to 6,000, only 70 guys. I think a lot of people are kind of out on this week, typically just because it's a no cut. I saw a lot of people saying, you know what, we'll wait for our bankroll to go after football, and we'll just hang off on these events. But do you think there's some sort of edge here, or what are you looking at from your perspective when you're playing these no-cut events?
Yeah, I mean, you got to really look at rostering construction, because it's big to see how people are going to build their teams. And doing this Tuesday versus a Wednesday, it's kind of in between of a first look, and I kind of know what I'm doing. Versus when we're on Wednesday, we're like kind of have a pretty concrete plan in terms of what we're looking with roster construction. Right now, I don't know. These no cut events, I think it's pretty clear that people are going to feel more comfortable going stars and scrubs. The interesting stuff in the pricing is the price breaks. I would say you got Scotty, and then $1,000 down to Xander, who has been playing great, obviously, and then Rory's kind of in there a little bit, and then it goes way down to 10-2 with Ludwig and Morikawa. So I don't know. It's I like it just because you have the best golfer. I mean, these are the best golfers of the PGA Tour this season that are in this event, and it's big names. Should still be somewhat exciting, but I get the other side of it where it's like 70-person no-cut event. I'm not all that interested, but we'll have our full content for this event. Obviously, I know Lee already has some of his stuff up. Lee Aldrich, who has been a big part of what we're offering. He's done a phenomenal job all season, so we're really excited to have his stuff up. But a lot of it's already up, the course fit and all that. So I'll probably be playing normal this week, especially coming off the nice week last week, feeling pretty good. So I'm going to keep it rolling personally.
Yeah, the value report is up. It's free. Lee posted over on the site. Just go to SHIPIT Nation. You can go to the value report under PGA. It's great. And then on top of it, you also can go to the Showdown mini course. You just put your email in, you get that for free as well. If you're going to be playing Showdown on these slates, a lot of people are saying, maybe I don't want to invest and wait on the main slate where it's going to basically look like you're doing good on Thursday or bad, and then it can flip to the good or the bad over the weekend, depending on how it started, because it's a no cut. But this is kind of useless to me for DFS. I keep it real about this stuff. I just don't care about this for every 3 that make it into the playoffs to the next round because of the rankings. There'll be a dozen that probably don't. And that's just the way it is. That's just how these rankings work. But I know a lot of people like to see them, want to see how it goes. And essentially, this is just showing VC606, great follow on Twitter, does a ton of the OWGR stuff, keep figuring it out before they post it and just seeing whether you believe in those rankings or not. Doesn't really matter. Just this is what you need to know. This is 50 through 70. He posted up, and you're able to see what type of finish they require. I don't know. Like I said, for Showdown and stuff like that, I think guys are just going to be firing at pins anyway. But just in general, this will show you. And like Go Collect says, I see some value report candidates sitting 51 to 70. You guys can go check it out. But I know Eric Cole, Ben Griffin, some of these guys that are in there. So Taylor Moore, you can go check all that out on the site. But I do think this is just something to bring up first tube. Do you look at anything like this, or do you care about this for DFS?
Not really, to be honest with you. I mean, it's just so hard. I mean, not only do you need to know the math and the finishing positions, but then you have to get inside a guy's head. Like, do they perform better when they know that they have to finish, 30th or better? Is it too much pressure for them and they, start to struggle a little bit? I mean, you have to combine all the numbers, the finishing positions, then with somebody's mental mindset. And I can't figure that shit out. So not factoring in any of that stuff this week. If a guy's in contention, going into the weekend, there's big money on the line here, right? I mean, the prize pool's got to be massive. They're going to want to win this event. And that's all I care about.
Yeah, win and move on and get yourself easy if you're not there already. So it's just a perfect setup, more points, all of that. But let's get into it. Let's go through here. We know the course. They play it every year. It's, the fact that it's 70 this year is whatever. But, I mean, Scotty Scheffler is going to be the talking point. I think there's some interesting stuff around him right off the top. But he's 12-4. You get $1,000 savings to drop down to double major winner, Xander. And then Rory's 11-1. Ludwig is 10-2. Morikawa is 10K. So you do get 5 guys up top. I think there is a bit of a gap conversation because I don't think Tommy gets the same love that Morikawa does as the fifth price guy. So I think it is like Scotty, Xander, Kawa. And then obviously Rory and Ludwig are still getting ownership. But just to say it up top, I think it's those 3. What's your first thoughts on this upper range, and also how you think people will be handling it with the 6K price range?
Yeah, it made it very easy on me because I had the exact same mindset as you did, and my initial lean is the same as you. Where people are definitely playing Scotty, no secret about that. It's just a matter of how much of him can you get. That's going to be everyone's mindset. People are going to want Xander because he's had a phenomenal season, and you get the $1,000 price break, and it's easy to play him in this no-cut format. Then people are definitely going to want to play Morikawa. I mean, he's been one of the better golfers, I'd say, like the second half of this season. I mean, the finishes have been elite, dating back to the Masters: 3rd, 9th, 16th, 4th, 2nd, 14th, 13th, 4th. 16th at the Open, and then I don't really care what he did at the Olympics, but what he finished 24th. So he's been great, and the price is pretty fair. You're getting a price break, but talking about those 3 does not mean that Rory and Ludwig aren't going to get any ownership, because that's not the case. It's easy to play those guys too. So if they're going to get some, it's probably just like a little bit less, to be honest with you. It's probably like, Xander and Scheffler, probably both above like 25%, I'd say. Morikawa is probably right there with them. And then I think like Rory and Ludwig probably mid to upper teens. So you're looking at maybe, in my eyes, 7 to 10% difference. So it's not like Rory and Ludwig are going to get no ownership because everyone wants to play Scheffler, Xander, and Morikawa. They're still going to get a decent chunk. So it is kind of hard to, get. It's not like you're getting a low-owned guy up here, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And the reason is because you can still play multiple of these guys in the same lineup, and that's why, I wish we would get Scotty Scheffler at 13-5. Xander at 12-5 would make things a little bit more interesting. In that scenario, you might be able to get Rory or Ludwig at like 10 or 12% owned. But the fact that you can play multiple of these guys means they're all going to get some ownership. Even if you go like, Scotty and Morikawa, you got 6,900. Like, you can play, there's going to be multiple guys in the 6K range in play. They get all 4 rounds to work with. So, Scotty, Xander, Morikawa, probably tier 1 together in terms of ownership. Then a little bit of a drop, I'd guess, like 7 to 10, down to like Rory and Ludwig in terms of ownership. So I want, probably exposure to all these guys. If I was going to say I'll pass on one, it would probably honestly be Rory for me. He just had, to me, he has not been good when he's playing in these very strong fields, like these elite fields. He just, I don't know. I think he's like far behind Scotty and Xander. And then you got some other guys that can sneak up on him. So he'd be the one that I'd be okay taking like an underweight or a potential fade stance. Haven't built any teams yet, but he's definitely my least favorite in this upper range.
Yeah, Ludwig is my least favorite. I would definitely still play Rory. So just from that perspective, but it is what it is. It's splitting hairs. My take, though, I got to talk about this because I think this is reminding me of, and I forget which event it was now, but it was a signature event that Scotty won. And you talk about this all the time, and I'm going to bring it back up. Like you like these fields where the nice part is we still get all the strong golfers. And I don't think it's because you're literally the biggest golf fan that's sitting there glued to the TV watching the best play. As part of it, sure, that's what we do. But I think it's also because, like you said, everybody gets ownership. And what I remember from that week was it was a no cut or as close to a no cut as you can get. And it was everyone was interested in Scotty, but they weren't committing to Scotty because they had enough of him. He's not winning again. There's so many other options. There's blah, blah, blah. But they were forgetting everybody down low still gets all 4 rounds. So they're all going to get to play the same amount of holes. Some of them are going to come through. And what's happening, I see, Hoop, is like actually, the ownership is interesting because it's tough to say. With Xander right there and $1,000 savings with 10K Morikawa, how much ownership he's going to get, who knows yet, but it's probably going to be quite a bit. It's going to keep Scotty in check for Scotty. Like I don't see Scotty getting to 40% here, and you can get like 60% Scotty in your lineups if you like him. One of the best we've seen in quite some time, best tee to green, all these other stats that we're looking at a course like this, doesn't make a lot of bogeys, everything that suits it. And really, regardless of what you think about these guys down low, they're all capable. So, and there's so many of them. If you just go like 7,400 and down, because that's kind of where you land, that's 41 of the 70 golfers in the field. You're taking out Scotty, so it's like you're using him. So my point being, it looks like he's at least going to be kept in check, where if you really want to leverage on Scotty this week, you can.
Yeah, I like that point. And, I think I just pulled up a little 2v2 here. And I think a lot of people, when building teams, they really hone in on 2v2s and like, all right, if I go from this guy to that guy, what else can it get me? And just here's an example that kind of popped up as I just went through this real quick. So you can play Scotty Scheffler and a 6.4K guy, whoever it might be. I don't know. There's Taylor Moore, Victor Perez, EVR.
For now, he's in the
so more. Yeah, so Scotty and Moore. But hey, guess what? If I drop down to Xander, save that $1,000, now I'm up to Davis Thompson, who a lot of people are going to want to play this week because he's been playing great. He's kind of having like a breakout season. People are going to feel way more comfortable with Davis Thompson. So, yeah, I agree with your point there, too. I think there is a chance that we can see Scotty held in check a little bit. And, just pulling up ownership here, it does look like that is the case because at first glance, with the season that Scotty's had at 12.4, you just assume he's probably like in the 30% ownership range. And early indications are that he might be, substantially lower, maybe 6-7% percentage points lower than that. So, I think that is also a very good point. And I like these weeks where, the best golfer in the world in a tier of his own, I'd say, as good as Xander's been this season, Scotty to me is still in a tier of his own. 20, 21, 22, 23%. I think that's a steal for us.
Yeah. And I'm just going to post it up for I'm going to get some interaction. I think maybe it's me, but now you're cutting out a little bit, but Morikawa versus Finau or Sungjae. Let's check this out real quick with everybody, because you just brought that 2v2 up. I'm curious what the people would want. Throw it in the chat what you would take, because these are all 2v2s. Morikawa and Finau or Sungjae both fit, and they're both looking pretty. I mean, this is what you're looking at when you're breaking down your lineups. Considerations. I don't think Scotty's going to be the most popular of this group. Like I know I'm asking what people would want to play. That'll help figure it out. But I think if people were voting on ownership too, what they think is going to be the most owned, I think Scotty and Moore would be down the list versus the Morikawa one. People are going to like that. So Morikawa with one of those guys just feels so much safer.
I honestly think, I think most people would take that third option, to be honest with you. If it was just straight up, which 2v2 are you most interested in? I think the Morikawa, Finau or Sungjae would probably win, to be honest with you. But
yeah, I think so too. And I think other people
get my back on track here. Is internet back on track or still a little shoddy?
But, in and out right now. Yeah. I think for sure, okay. People are picking the. People are going to be picking the Morikawa one. I'll keep it rolling while you're doing that and just checking out on your end. But yeah, just to button that up, I also don't think you're going to see a lot of double stud here. Like Scotty Kawa, it's possible, but then, it gets tight. So, people will do it. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to be as popular as something like a Scotty Henley or a Scotty Sungjae or dropping down to that range. Or what we already talked about, like a Morikawa Henley would be where people would be trying to get there and just switching it up, finding that other $200 from the 2v2 I just gave you, and they can just get up to Henley from Finau or him. But still, that's just sort of the original first thought. Let's talk about this 9K range. Then we got Fleetwood down to Russell Henley, 6 guys here. Definitely looks like Henley will be getting some love. Fleetwood will be getting some love. And then if people go to the balanced build, I think this is where they jam 2 or 3 of these guys in. But what are you thinking with this 9K range?
Yeah, I mean, I have virtually zero interest in like a balance build this week. I think it's a mistake, to be honest with you. Like I don't see any reason to start in this range, especially in the top range for me personally. I know a lot of people are going to like Tommy Fleetwood, but Tommy Fleetwood at 9.8K, he's got to do a lot. And there hasn't been many times where you would need Tommy Fleetwood at 9.8K to win GPPs. I'm just going through this and looking as the 6th most expensive guy on the slate. You'd have to go all the way back to the Masters, where he finished tied for 3rd, where you'd probably need him. So looks like he's probably going to get some ownership. He's a name a lot of people are talking about. I'm fine passing on him at 9.8K. To me, he's like a 9K guy, not a 9.8. Cantlay season has been pretty disappointing. Like I'd much rather get more exposure to guys in the 10K range. And then Victor Hovland at 9.5K, probably one of the more disappointing seasons, I'd say, overall. And when you kind of get to this playoff portion of the season, I want guys that are in good form, have had a good season, and I could see making a run. I just cannot imagine Hovland making a run as bad as he's played. And I'll be out on him for sure. So like the upper 9s, I don't have much interest in. Lower 9s, I do. I'll take a shot on Matsuyama. He seems like a guy that can just pop up and be good, play well. Corey Connors, I've been playing a lot of him all season. He's been phenomenal. I mean, his recent finishes have been really good too. And then Henley, another guy that's had a very solid season, good course fit. So much more interested in the lower 9s opposed to the upper 9s, but I won't be starting here at all. Like I'll definitely be starting up top with any of those guys over any of these. It's just too easy to have these guys be like the second guy in your lineup, and you can probably make it work with them being the 3rd. Like if you even went like, Morikawa, Ludwig, and plug in Connors, you got 6,900. So you couldn't even have these guys be like your 3rd guy in. So pretty clear range to me. Like no interest in the upper portion, a lot of interest in the lower portion. I won't be starting here.
Okay, I would agree on one, and I'm going to make mistakes on the other. So one is I'm going to say I'm with you. I don't love the top as much, even though I get that there's leverage there based on the fact that people will be playing Morikawa, Oberg, those guys more than them. I think that's fine, but like we already have Morikawa there at 10K. I'm going to play Morikawa over most at that price point. So there would be that. But I guess my takeaway would be like, if you just jam the tee to green guys like Matsuyama, Connors, Henley at the bottom, you then, the only reason I bring it up is from a roster construction perspective. While you are leaving win equity up top with Scotty, Xander, Rory, those types of guys, it's like, I don't know how bad I really want Kim, Finau, Im, Thigala, the popular 8K guys that people are landing on in those builds up above, because they have to skip that range. So I actually think like Matsuyama, at least Matsuyama and Connors will be somewhat held in check. Henley will get out of hand probably, but that's why I'd want him as like a 3rd guy in. So that's the only way I would do it. I'm not advocating it's my favorite build. I kind of agree with you. You want to start up top. You can even get more aggressive up top, but I do think that if you were doing it, that would be the way to do it. Henley's going to be the 2nd guy in to a lot of those lineups with a dude from up top. What about getting Henley in as your 3rd guy? That's how I would look to do it. You can still change it to Hoop's point and make it Morikawa with Matsuyama and Henley, or Morikawa with Connors and Henley. Do it however you want. But I'm just saying, I think that to me would be fine. And I could see like, Matsuyama pulling something off, or Henley pulling this off. And if he's my third guy in and wins it, then it's, what else do the guys around him do? That would save me some money. But I guess it'll depend. And let's talk about it now. This 8K range, there is 10 guys in the 8K range. And it seems like Tom Kim, Sung Jae, and then for sure Aaron Rai, which is interesting because you usually don't see a guy coming off a win become this popular, but early ownership takes would say it looks like people are going right back to the well on Aaron Rai under the average salary point.
Yeah, I think Rai, outside of like those top end guys, like the expensive guys, he has to be up there in terms of ownership, and it makes a ton of sense, coming off the win. But it's not like it was just a random win out of nowhere. You could kind of feel it building, and he had the 75th at the Open. Okay, I'll give him the free pass on the Open, but prior to that, 4th at the Genesis, 7th at the John Deere, 2nd at the Rocket Mortgage, 19th at the U.S. Open, 14th at the Canadian Open, the 32nd, 39th, 4th, playing the best golf of his career. And I kind of talked about it in the previous range, where I want guys that have had a good season and you can kind of see the momentum building. We saw it last year with Lucas Glover, right? Like he went on that crazy run out of like nowhere. The year before that, I can't remember who it was, but you always see these guys that go on these runs, but you can kind of feel it building. With Rai, I think you can definitely feel it building, but you do need to be careful how you build your teams if you are playing Rai. Like Rai is going to be a very, very popular, probably third guy into lineups. Like you can fit him in anything. Like 82, it's literally the average roster spot on DraftKings. So if you're going to play two guys in the 10K and above range, Rai's a perfect fit. If you're going to play one guy and you want to avoid the 6, if you want to go like Scotty Scheffler and then drop all the way down to Rai, avoid the 6K range and stay in the 7s, that's how you do it. He just fits every sort of build. So you need to be careful how you build those Rai teams, because it's going to be very easy to get on a similar build path with Rai. But I will definitely be playing him. Cash games, I think he's probably the guy you start with. To be honest with you, I'll give you one free play from the cash core this week. Aaron Rai will be in there, 8,200. I mean, I think you just start your cash teams with him. Other guys in this range, like Tom Kim at 89, if he's getting ownership, I can get off Tom Kim at 89. Like I don't have to play him. I do like the Finau though at 88. I think he's a solid play. Another guy where started out kind of slow, but you see the momentum building. 18th, 17th, 8th, 3rd, 5th, 12th. Did miss the cut at the Open. I'm willing to give him a free pass on that. You can see something building with Finau. Same with Sung Jae. I mean, we talked about him a ton. I mean, he's probably the guy we talk about most on these shows. Started out playing like complete shit, and then has fully turned it around. 8,700. Didn't have the best finish last week, but he didn't play terrible. I mean, it was just a round 4 where, I don't think he could have got to the top. Shot a 72 in round 4, finished 41st, but he was, right around, I don't know, like 10th.
There has to be a correlation with my guy Sung Jae. When he gets expensive, just stay away. When he's right in the middle, just play him because he's obviously better than the value guys around him. It doesn't really matter field strength. He's good enough. It's just when he gets that top tier spot, he just seems to not come through.
Yeah. Horschel at 85. Like I was not interested last week when he was 10K or whatever, but now he's down to 85, and another guy that's you can kind of see some momentum building a little bit. I think it's a pretty good course fit. I don't love him, but I think I'll probably have some of him at 85. Justin Thomas, I think to me, it's one of those situations. If you've been playing with him, you just stick with it and play him and see if he can, make some moves here throughout the playoffs. If you haven't been playing him, I think you just kind of stay off him. For me, I've been playing him, so I'm going to be on him. He's only 8,400. It's right around the average spot, the average cost of a roster spot. Sam Burns, no strong read there. I had no idea what I'll do with him at this point. Cam Young at 8,100, I don't mind. Another guy where started out the season disastrous, but we've finally started to see some pretty good finishes, 9th, 6th, 31st, 22nd. It's only 8,100. It's not like it's Cam Young 9,700. It's Cam Young 8,100. He can be like your 4th guy in some spots. So some interest there. Shane Lowry at 8K, similar to Sam Burns. Like those are the two I really don't know what I'll do, like Burns, Lowry. But the rest, I feel pretty good about. Like I said, Tom Kim, if he's going to get some ownership, fine, staying off of him. But like Finau, those are probably my favorites here in this range.
Cam Young could be a little Aaron Rye pivot. It could be Sam Burns. They're both right there, like you mentioned. But people will talk about JT's course history. I guess one of the things you said it, and then Andrew said it here as well, like to stay out of the 6Ks, to stay out of the 6K. No one's going in the 6Ks. Like that's what I'm trying to explain. The maths at this event. The reason I brought the Scotty thing up earlier is just to start the point of 12-4. It still correlates with the math at the bottom. Like everybody I see is going to be 6-7% at most in the 6Ks. Like nobody's going down there. It's very easy. You mentioned it earlier. You could play 3 studs, which most people won't do, and still have 6,900. Yes, I get it. That does force you at least once into the 6Ks. But I'm saying at that point, it doesn't even matter. You're playing one guy in the 6Ks. So to me, matters way more. When we do these shows, it's not about talking about every player, going through you mentioned everybody in the plays. No, we're talking about it because we're talking about how we can construct rosters to beat these large field tournaments that you're probably watching the show because you have to get better at this and you want to find success in these. That's what we're trying to do and to help you with. So I think for me, I'm just looking at this range and you can tell right away what's going to happen. It's Aaron Rye at the bottom and it's Kim, Finau, Im at the top. Yeah. Everybody else kept in line. So if you can get behind Cam Young, Shane Lowry, you can get behind Sam Burns, even JT. People are talking about him. I don't see them clicking him. Like, I just don't. I think even Billy Horschel has pretty good history here and has been playing well enough lately that people will say, look at that price drop. Now I can get him in. He was cheering on Aaron Rye down the stretch, pumping him up and fist bump. And I'm like, kind of cool, kind of like whatever. But at the same, like when you know you're out of it, I always say that if I can't win, may as well cheer for another guy to win. Aaron Rye, good guy. Good to see him get the job done. But I like these guys at the top. I just think their ownership is going to get extremely inflated. And not just that, it's not who you play, it's how you play them. I don't care as much about that. It's to what you said earlier. You're going to end up on a lot of similar roster constructions as everybody else. So I'm looking for ways to get different by using some of these guys at the bottom. If you use 2 or 3 8K guys and at least 2 of them are from the bottom outside of Rye, you're going to be in pretty good shape for a way to find yourself to be unique. And then how you set it up from there, you can kind of go a ton of different directions because they're all around the average salary price of the 83-33. So that'd be my take there. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think it's a very good point there. I mean, very good point. I mean, it's nice when you can get a range where you can really see the clear picture in terms of ownership. And I think this is a range for sure where people are going. It's just very, very clear, very clear.
Yeah. So, people aren't really going into the 6s. We know people aren't playing Scotty 40% like what we usually see. So that just, sums up that. Let's talk about the 7K range. Less than 20 guys here in the 7K range. But if you just do like Jason Day up to Wyndham Clark, that's about half of them. So thoughts on this upper 7K range? And then to me, early thoughts, just quickly while I kick it to you, is like I just see the same thing I kind of mentioned there. This kind of flows in hoop with the standard roster construction. So Sahith down to, I would say, Jason Day, besides Aaron Rye and maybe a little Benny Ann and Harmon. Just there's not a lot of ownership in that range. Yeah. So to me, it's like you can still mix these guys into that previous conversation I talked about.
Yeah, the upper 7s, it's funny. It's like it's all the misfits or the guys that have had very disappointing seasons or injuries, or it's like every single guy on the tour that barely snuck in had a very bad season, I'd say, overall. Wyndham Clark, big step back. Fitzpatrick, very bad season. Jordan Spieth, I don't know, he claims it's the wrist or whatever. He's waiting on surgery. Harmon, disappointing season, I'd say, overall. And then Max Homa probably has had, I'd say, probably the most disappointing season, would you say? Like, is there anyone that's had a – right? I mean, so it's all the guys that have had disappointing seasons. And for me, these guys are typically in much better spots at this point in the playoffs. So I have a hard time clicking a lot of these names. The one I will click, though, for sure is Wyndham Clark. I've been playing him. And to me, out of all these guys, I think he still has the most upside. We've seen him go off in nuke rounds really low, had a 62, a 63, a 62 at the Genesis, a 63 at the Travelers, a couple 65s at the Olympics. Like, I am actually pretty excited to play Wyndham Clark this week. I don't know I have no idea what his ownership's looking like. I'm assuming it's not very high, I'd guess, but I do want to play him. Fitzpatrick at 78, I think is just an easy pass. Moderate interest in Scott, like none on Spieth, none on Harmon, none on Homa. potentially Jason Day, just because he can get hot with the putter. And at 7,500, that could be enough, just getting hot with the putter. So maybe some Jason Day. Benny On's probably the guy that gets the most ownership in this range. Somewhat interested in him, but this is kind of a dead range for me, the upper sevens for the most part. I mean, I'll have some, but no one's going to be like a core play, I don't think, for me in this range.
Yeah, Rin's excited to get the EVR later, I saw, but he does bring up, I know not, it's this, I like comments like this. It's not even about the Olympics. It's just that the Olympics helped show what you can see out of a guy like this that kind of relates to this tournament that we're in. Like it's not about the one day. Like you need a couple of spike rounds, and you can definitely get that. So this is the key. Mike knows it. He is hard to trust. A lot of these guys are, but no risk, no risk it, no biscuit, whatever they say, no risk, no reward. Like that, you got to do that in some cases. You see it.
And we're already playing a game that is one of the most volatile DFS sports out there, PGA. So there's already volatility baked in. Like there's no security for the most part. These upper tier guys, yes, there's some degree of security, but outside of like the Scotty Schefflers, the Xanders, guys like that, there's a ton of volatility involved in the sport. So you can embrace it. And I don't know, I think Wyndham's a great way to embrace the volatility of this game.
Yeah, I agree there 100%. I think he's interesting. I like your Day call, just if he can get hot. He's had a couple good outings recently anyway, just even before the other stuff. So I think he's fine. Benny Ann could be okay here. He's done all right here as well. And then, I like Adam Scott. He's coming in a couple, ton of pretty good finishes this season for him. And he's shown more upside. I keep harping on this. Some weeks that I mentioned, he didn't. He still flashed his 39th places and whatnot, but 2nd, 10th, 12th, 32nd. Like he's got some good finishes in there. I think he's fine to go to as well. Yeah. So I'd have interest in Clark, Scott, and then maybe Jason Day, like you said, maybe some Benny Ann, but he's going to be popular. I will say, I do think Harmon is going to be more popular than Ann, just because people love a cheap Brian Harmon, and he's the little big game hunter, they say, and then he turns into Brian Parman and gets points as you need the points at these no-cut events. So that's problematic. So I think if he gets his ownership boosted way up, which we could see the steam, the closer we get to lock, we'll have all that covered and more at shipitnation.com. But I think that is something to keep an eye on. And it does just go to show, and this is what I was mentioning earlier, Hoop, I'll let you take over here, but all these guys I think can get medium ownership, like Straka, Davis Thompson. People love Seabez. People love Akshay. People love Siwoo. People love Norin. And it sounds crazy to say they love them, but I'm just saying, like, they're all going to be 12-ish, somewhere in that mid-range. Like, they're not going to – you can get a ton of leverage still, play the guys you like. I'm just saying what this tells me is how the builds are going to look, which is all I care. My main thing I care about is what the build and the roster constructions are going to look like. This tells me very early that 7,200 to 74 is where people are going. Couple guys sprinkled in that we mentioned earlier, but mostly going to land in this range.
Yeah. I think to some degree they're mostly appealing names down here that people are going to want to play. And there are a lot of builds where will take you into this range. I think Davis Thompson is a popular play this week at 74, kind of having a breakout season, and had the 12th last week. People are going to feel comfortable with that. Seabez, I think, is another comfortable click for people. Batia has been pretty bad, but I'm going to play Batia. He's had a good season. Maybe this fires him up here at the start of the playoffs. He's coming off a cut at the Open, 64th at the 3M, and missed the cut last week. But I will have some of him. Pendrith, McIntyre, both those two I think are solid plays, win upside, guys that when they get hot can get to the top of the leaderboard. Pendrith is coming off back-to-back 5th place finishes. Not the greatest events, the Barracuda and the 3M, but I mean, it's got to say something. And he has a win this year. McIntyre's won twice, 7,100. I'm interested. Zalatoris, I think, is a easy fade. Hopefully he figures it out and comes back, because he's a guy I think that's good for the PGA Tour, but it's been bad. I mean, he's struggled to come back from this injury. Keegan, moderate interest at 7K. My favorites will be like Thompson. I think Batia, good for GPPs. Pendrith, McIntyre, those are kind of the guys I'm looking at down here.
Yeah, I think Akshay for talent alone, 7,300. Even Siwoo there that I mentioned earlier. Like, whatever they've been up to, I don't care. I'm going to take the shot. Thompson for sure, over 4 days, can get those spike rounds in there. I think that's just 3 of the guys there that I definitely have interest in. I like your call on like the Pendriths and the McIntyres, just based on no real ownership landing there, but guys that could actually play good enough to win a tournament. So I think that is fine. Like, to me, again, same as above, I'm looking at this lower range, and that'll naturally play out. If you want to go look at some of the stuff I've talked about today, again, it's not about mentioning names. It's about mentioning the builds, the process of it. If you put one or two of your favorite lower 7K guys, and then you go back up and you put some of those low 9K guys where you squeeze out that range, and then maybe you can get to a Scheffler or something like that. That's kind of more what I'd be looking at here to see how it lands. But I like the lower 7s, and I'm going to talk about it more when we get to the 6s. But anything else at all, Hoop, you want to talk about in the 7? Speaking of Zal, by the way, this was the legendary 2 year ago win when Zal got the job done. I was there. I called it. I made it happen. The first time I bet him big. It was awesome. And it was a great event to be at. Super hot. That's another thing I should mention about Akshay. Has played pretty well in the hotter weather. And everyone says it's going to be just super hot this week there too. So again, 7,300, just a little nugget on him that I thought of, or a tidbit that stands out. So let's move down. Let's go to the 6K range, and 69 to 6,500. There's about 15 guys, maybe just a couple that stand out, or anything you see here that you want to mention. I don't see anyone besides maybe Eric Cole, the Ben Griffins of the world, maybe Grazerman getting like 6 to 7% ownership, but I don't see very much here.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm building teams, I'm going to play a decent chunk of these guys. Grazerman, I've been riding him, and the results have been phenomenal. Obviously, I mean, 21st of the U.S. Open, 31st, 26th, 21st, 13th, second. Obviously, probably should have had the win last week. Shit the bed. Finish second, but really nothing to lose here. I mean, nothing to lose. Bouncing back here, in the playoffs. You probably never thought he's going to be in the FedEx Cup playoffs. Here he is. He just go out and play golf, and I do like him at 69. Always like Mav McNeely, 6,900 as well. And then there's a little bit of a gap for me coming down to guys like Cole. I think Cole's kind of found it here. It was a rough season. I think he's a guy that a lot of people thought coming into the year was really going to be a breakout candidate. And early on, it was a disaster, but he's found it. I mean, he's found it in a big way. 48th at the Travelers, 6th at the Rocket Mortgage, 7th at the John Deere, made both cuts, the Scottish Open, the Open Championship, and then the 7th last week. He's found it. 67. I imagine he's probably one of the more popular guys down here, but it's never to a point where, for the most part, sometimes there's like a standout 6K guy that gets like 15% ownership or something. This week's not going to be the case. 67. I like him. Ben Griffin. Man, my guy JT Poston has been hurting our feelings in a big way. I mean, it has not been good for him. Cut. The Open 3M, Wyndham. I want guys that are playing pretty well. He's not playing well. Denny McCarthy, I think, is a fine option at 65. So I will be playing more of these guys down here than the field. I feel pretty good about the ones that I mentioned, though. So, and then there's
You said you'll be playing more of these guys. Taylor Moore?
Yeah. Oh, definitely Taylor Moore. He's a guy that early on in the season, he was making all the cuts, right? Didn't he make like 10 cuts in a row? Fell off a little bit, but, had the 12th at the 3M, and then, he's 52nd last week. But at 6,400, he's a guy that can get hot. He can make a lot of birdies, so I am in on him. You want me to just keep going with the rest of my dudes down here?
No, I'm going to take it. I want to talk about others. Like, I guess some of them, someone mentioned, I don't think anyone's clicking anyone. So it's like, you don't have to worry. Like, Cole is getting clicked. He's back. Everyone's talking about his form being back. I get it, but it's like, it's not going to be enough to matter. You could still get a ton of ways to get different when using him. I think one that stood out to me was Cam Davis. He's right there underneath Grazerman and McNeely. Obviously, Grazerman's form is insane, but just looking at Cam Davis, pretty solid over the last 4 or 5 events. And then he's done better each year here in the last 3 years, 60th, 13th, 6th. So maybe something about this course, but I usually like him with 4 guaranteed rounds because we want those couple rounds that he can go low in. So I think he's interesting. I think Nick Dunlap making birdies. I think he could be a guy here just to take a shot on at 6,700. Ben Griffin, always play him a little bit. Steven Yeager, another guy that can just go low. Denny McCarthy. So my main point was going to be, and that's why I brought up Taylor Moore, where I was going to end off, is from 6,400 and up, I can pick 5 guys there that I feel pretty comfortable with, yet for whatever reason, we're going to see Scheffler kept in check, probably 30% or less in a field like this with just 70 guys. He has to beat less people. He's been the best all season long. Him and Xander, you can argue it, but the $1,000 in savings, get Xander in there too. Play those guys and mix these guys. Even with Xander lineups, you're going to need some dudes down here. So I just don't see why everyone's landing on the balanced build or like the 1-1, end it safe. Make sure I land in the 7Ks at the end. I would not look to do that as much this week. I'll have more in the slate plan tomorrow on the site at shipitnation.com. But I'll just say there's a lot of guys that you can go to here. And then you can take us into the bottom range first. If you want to start with EVR, Rin will be really excited, 6,400 EVR, and then you can go all the way down to Peter Malnati, 6,000. So, crazy win earlier this season for him.
Yeah, it's gonna either we're making a lot of money or losing a lot of money together because we're pretty aligned this week, which isn't always the case. But our mindset's very similar. EVR will be a pass for me. I'm sorry, Ren, I can't do it. Like I can't figure him out. Just no thanks for me. Like in on Taylor Moore, Victor Perez. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can make a case for a lot of these guys down here. Again, I'm building teams in a certain way where I need a lot of these guys, and luckily for me, I feel comfortable with them. Hadwin, Eckroat, Hubbard, like I'm fine playing any of those. Mackenzie Hughes, we're going to label him right now. And this label, I'm telling you, has been very, very successful this season. I mean, the labeling guys with the most disrespectful price tag in the field, these guys have rewarded us in a big way. It's going to be Mackenzie Hughes, 6,200. I mean, the guy's playing great. Probably some of the best golf he's played in a while. 36, 46, 16th, 19th, 28th last week. 6,200 for Mackenzie Hughes. Like I'm in for sure. Love that price tag. Seamus Power. I think Jake Knapp is always a boomer bust guy that, especially in these no cut events, you can take a chance on. So again, I've said it like 3 times. I'll say it one last time. Like I'm going to be playing more guys down here than the field because of the way I'm building my teams. Luckily for me, I feel good about a lot of these guys. So hopefully it's a good week.
Yeah, I like that call. I think some of the ones, obviously like the Jake Knapps, or who's the guy I mentioned, Nick Dunlap, they can be considered a lot more risky, but you're taking a shot on them for those boom rounds when they're getting 4 guaranteed rounds. Ben said he's just dropped in late. Shout out to our guy, Ben. Always supporting. Appreciate you. If you guys haven't done so yet, hit the like button for us. Subscribe to the channel. That's the key. Make sure you're subscribed. We have a ton of giveaways that are linked to that. And you guys know with NFL season just around the corner, there's going to be a lot more giveaways that you're going to want to be involved. You got to be subscribed to the channel. So make sure you do that. But he says, in terms of construction, you're happy with playing someone super cheap. I think Hoop just labeled it like the Mackenzie Hughes thing. I don't know how. I guess I understood further when Grazerman got like the most disrespectful price. I don't know how Mackenzie Hughes garners it. I see his recent form. I guess that's why. But it's that he's associated to almost stone minimum price, I think, is what you're saying, because down here, there's not much else. I was going to give my guy Nick Taylor. But again, he's
earned that price based on his recent play.
But he's earned bust. It's like miscut 30.
Yeah, but it's been all bust.
Miscut. I'm going to take some shots on him this week, but I agree with you. I like the Canadian boys, like you talked about. You like the Canadian boys. That's a couple of them there. Adam Hadwin down there as well. But I don't have as much interest in this very lower price range as I did, like I said, when I go 6,400 and up. I can name a bunch, but one more I'll add. Austin Eckroat. Everybody wants this guy when he's 20% owned, but they don't want him. I mean, that's what forces it. I'm saying, like, it's like there's weeks that people get him to 20%. They want him, and I've never seen a guy that people get rid of so quickly. He's done. But now we get him in a no cut at 6,300. I think his recent finish was also pretty good, wasn't it? Like
6th.
Did he play last week?
6th.
Yeah, so six last time out. So you look at Eckroat there at 6,300. Again, I just don't see a lot of guys down here getting ownership. He'd be another guy that would find his way into the mix. Like Ben asked, the key is hope they get enough scoring to fit in with the other 5 guys that you got. You get the winner, 4 other guys in the top 15, and then a guy that scores 33rd but scores top 20, top 25. That could be enough in an event like this. So it's usually enough in an event like this, not talking about optimals, but what's winning GPPs. So definitely think that's a good viable strategy. And we talked earlier in the show, some of these over aggressive builds that you can do. So I really like where we're at, Hoop. I like the setup. It feels like we're intertwined this week for what we're doing. What others are doing, we'll see. But it's, for us, that's sort of how I feel about it. We'll have everything else and more covered over on the site. Do you have anything else on the event or roster construction, some of the stuff like Ben talked about there that you want to bring up?
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll get all our content up nice and early for you guys. A lot of it is already up. And, again, if you're thinking about joining us for NFL season, there's no need to wait. Sign up now for any NFL package, and you will go ahead and get free all access leading up to NFL. So 3 weeks of full all access. You have it right there on the screen, the $299 plan, the best value in the industry, the most affordable price tag in the industry for what you get. And again, no need to wait. You get free all access leading up to NFL season.
Yeah, the Super Bowl, I believe, is like February 9th this year coming up. So 6 months. Basically, you're buying 6 months. It's $49 a month that this works out to. And you're going to get all access for 3 weeks. We've got UFC 305 coming up this weekend under MMA, all the stuff we cover there. We've got the NASCAR back. We've got MLB in full swing, people crushing it daily. You guys saw all this stuff earlier. We've got golf still rounding out the entire playoffs. You're going to get all that for the showdown stuff and the main slates. I believe there's a Mega Milli next week that you can win tickets into. Then you're getting all the stuff we cover for NFL, college football, the education courses for the 5 sports we cover them for right now, and you're getting Shiptimizer for NFL as well for Classic and Showdown. Like most optimizer sites are $49 a month or $97 a month in some cases. All of that. You're getting everything for $299 for the next 6 months, essentially. So check it out. That's going to cover you guys for football, college football, everything there. But I think that's the main stuff, Hoop. If you guys are a member, just want to note it again, we did put up a tutorial for PGA and MLB so far. A lot more coming, but just to break it down, it's 25 minutes. If you want to know how to use the optimizer on our site, that's going to be covered there, and you guys can check it out. Other than that, though, I got nothing else. Appreciate you guys joining. Smash that like on the way out. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Like I said, a ton of big giveaways coming up for Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!